Well, hello, my fellow sensitive people. It is I, your favorite whimsical oracle, the Oracle of Whimsy, here to deliver another hopefully interesting card reading on the political events of the day. One of the things I wanted to talk about has to do with something that's been on my mind for the last couple of days, and that's the idea of a disconnect between the world we live in as Democrats and the world that people live in as independent voters, undecided, and registered Republicans. How can we learn to communicate with those people who are still undecided, or those people who find themselves swaying towards voting for Trump in the upcoming presidential election? I have tried to put myself in the shoes of the person that is thinking of voting for Donald Trump. As many of you know, I'm a remote viewer, and I use an empathy technique which is called heart-centered remote viewing. And so that means that I have the ability, or I try to have the ability, to become the other, to put myself in the shoes of those people I may have conflict with in order to better understand them. Now, in the past, I've been accused of all kinds of crazy things because evidently I'm really good at it. People have accused me of being a supporter of Putin, a supporter of Trump, Stalin, and just about everybody else who's horrible. That's because it's my job to try to have empathy and get into the minds of my opponents. Now, many of you have told me that you want me to tell you the truth, but I find myself, and I think other readers can agree with this, I find myself on a broken glass, walking on broken glass, scared to tell people some of what I see for fear of angering those people who want to believe that everything is going to be okay in the upcoming election. But I can tell you, as someone who is a registered Democrat, I've been a registered Democrat since I was 18, if we want to win elections, we have to be able to speak the language of others, and we have to be able to reach across the aisle and learn to communicate with people. One of the problems that I think Hillary Clinton had when she ran in 2016 was the fact that she was often viewed by males as being angry and defensive, and it kind of reminded them of their ex-wife or a woman that they would, the woman who's the harpy who screams and rants and raves all the time because the garbage wasn't taken out. And so I think one of the best things that Kamala Harris can do, and I think she's already doing it, is to answer questions in a non-defensive and respectful tone, like she did during the debate. She was able to shake Donald Trump's hands, wish him good luck. That is precisely how I think she has to go forward in this debate. Not act like somebody's angry wife screaming and ranting and raving in the kitchen. Because somebody didn't put the toilet seat down. Whatever the conflict is, we want to be able to communicate our ideas, but not do it in a way that's defensive or causes other people to become angry and defensive about their personal feelings. We want to respect people's personal feelings and be able, in sane, rational ways, to have respectful conversations. We don't need to be one-upping people in debates. I like the Midas Touch. I enjoy Damage Report and all of the other pro-Democrat YouTube channels, but they are really the cheerleaders for our side, and they tell us what they want, what we want to hear. Political Voices is another one. I enjoy watching these channels, but sitting around living in our own fishbowl, wanting to hear us talk about how great we are, is not going to help us win this national election. I've also heard the 13 keys, Professor Lichtman, I believe that's how his last name is pronounced, he has said that Harris will be elected the next president. But he also predicted that Al Gore would win. I believe it was in 2004. And unfortunately, we got a Bush presidency because Republicans stole Florida. They threw out thousands of votes. Suppressing of votes happened. Well, suppressing of votes is happening again. We're seeing suppression happening in Wisconsin, where they're removing ballot drop boxes. That was the latest that came out of Wisconsin. We're seeing suppression happening in Georgia, a long history of problems in Florida, problems in North Carolina, and we're certainly seeing problems in Arizona. There have been all kinds of problems in Arizona, the Sun Belt. So there's no guarantee we won't see dirty shenanigans and people attempting to steal elections in the future, because it's happened before. It's happened multiple times that we've seen voter suppression. We saw Lyndon B. Johnson bringing federal troops in the South because of Jim Crow. And now we have this kind of Jim Crow 2.0 happening. So again, what can we do to guarantee that we are going to win in 2024? Aside from Harris being respectful and being able to talk to people like their fellow human beings, which I think is very important when we're trying to reach across the aisle, the other thing that we have to do is we have to listen to the concerns of people in the Sun Belt, and we have to respect the concerns of people in the Sun Belt and not continue to gaslight people in the Sun Belt about some of the problems that they're concerned about. The number one concern for Americans, when we look at the top concerns of 2024, number one is actually crime. And saying over and over again that crime is down is not going to help us win the election. What's going to help us win the election is acknowledging that crime is a problem and that we have a plan to reduce crime. It doesn't matter that crime is down. The problem is we still have crime. And one of the main problems we have is we have drug addiction and crimes related to drug addiction, petty theft, etc., people being robbed, etc., in order to pay for the drugs. We have an epidemic of fentanyl. These are problems we didn't have under Trump. And so when people argue to vote for Trump, they point out the fentanyl crisis and the petty crimes that are related to these types of dangerous drugs that are on the street. And they talk about the fact that the southern border is being inundated with human trafficking, drugs, etc. And so it's not enough for us to say that crime is down. We need to be able to communicate what the problem is and how we're going to fix it. How are we going to get fentanyl off the streets? How are we going to deal with the crime that drug addiction causes, crimes related to drug addiction? Don't argue with me. Let's come together, and instead, it's not going to help you to argue with me. My job is to be a remote viewer and to tell you why people are concerned and why people are leaning towards Trump. What we do about it, that's up to us as Democrats. But the number one concern is crime. It will not help us to continue to say crime is down because people still see the fentanyl. They still see people dying in the streets from fentanyl, and they still see the crimes associated with fentanyl. They still see the fentanyl coming in from the southern border. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Because we need to do something about it. The second concern for people that are leaning towards Trump has to do with the housing. The fact that housing prices are going up. They've gone up. They have not gone down under Biden. That's the bottom line. People are spending far too much on rent. It's led to a lot of seniors facing homelessness. And we're seeing more centralization of companies that own more and more real estate. We're seeing more foreign companies coming in and buying real estate. What are we going to do right now? What is our plan to get rents down? What is our plan right now to make it affordable for people to buy houses? We need to plan, we need to communicate it, and we need to explain why it hasn't happened yet. That is the second concern. The third concern that is making people lean towards Trump has to do with just general inflation. Why is the inflation there? Well, we have sanctions going on. We just came out of COVID. We did better than many other countries during COVID. But the bottom line again is, what are we going to do? What is our plan to get inflation down? The next concern on the list has to do with retirement. People are worried about their Social Security. They want to see an increase in Social Security. Everything has gone up. People are living on beans and rice. They're already on thin ice. What can we do to improve Social Security? Can we increase Social Security? Abortion rights is probably seventh on the list. If you look at just the top concerns, seniors tend to vote more than young people. The other big mistake that Democrats have made, and we keep making it over and over and over and over and over again, is that we reach out to young people by going to colleges. Now, what's the problem with that? The problem with that is that a lot of young people don't go to college. Young people in rural areas will never go to college. Young people in urban areas that will never go to college. And so consequently, by going to the colleges only to speak to young people, we have basically eliminated or not communicated with those young people that are not going to college. What are we doing to communicate with young people who don't go to college? What are we doing to communicate with young people that will never have a college degree? So if we have that approach, if we acknowledge that those are the concerns of people that are feeling isolated, that are feeling that we are elitist in the sense that we only go towards the intellectuals, the academics, the university students. We don't reach out to everybody else. We don't reach out to the 40% in rural areas. Then there's no reason why they should vote for us. So those are some of the things that I just wanted to get out. When I go into meditation, when I put myself in the shoes of the average undecided or rural voter, that is where my animosity is coming from. You never came to speak to me. You never came to hear my concerns as a diner waitress living in a rural area that can't afford basic necessities. How can we begin to address those issues without being defensive, reaching across the aisle, and with compassion try to create allies in those areas? All right, so I thought we would do the empath's prayer, and we would go in and we would take a little bit of a look at some of the stuff that's going on in the news right now. The first thing I want to look at is voter suppression and whether or not voter suppression is going to be having a major impact on the election going forward, and if there's anything that we can do about voter suppression that we haven't already thought about. All right, let's do the empath's prayer. Okay. I want to call on white light protection for myself and this community as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and our good angels to be with us. Please give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journeys to make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, the planet, the people we love, but also to help those that we may have strife with. And together collectively we say, Amen. So the first thing I want to do is I just want to take a look at the people that are around Donald Trump, what their schemes and plans are, and if we can get into the mind of Donald Trump and his cronies to try and find out how they are trying to win this election. They don't necessarily like Trump. They may see Trump as a useful idiot. if you're looking at Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, they see him as a useful idiot. They're going to pay his bills. They're going to give him what he wants. And in exchange, they're going to be able to get Vance. And then Vance is going to do whatever he has to do in order to protect their interest. So as a result, it's a better investment for Peter Thiel and the America PAC and Elon Musk to put in, say, $45 million a month or whatever to make sure that Trump gets elected, not because they want Trump there, but because they want Vance to get in. Well, good news so far about election suppression. It looks like we will be getting a lot more support than we had been concerned about. You can see strong global partnership. And we also have the Queen of Swords, which is the Queen of Justice, moving into karma position. This leads me to think that the Justice Department, the FBI, etc., Homeland Security is very active in making sure that we don't have anything happening. For example, with this type of a card which has to do with importing and exporting our partnerships, it could indicate that they're doing what they can to jam or protect us from foreign involvement. And you can see here the Queen of Swords again, which is the sword of justice, the sword of truth. This leads me to think, with this type of juxtaposition, that we're sitting pretty good in terms of protecting ourselves from Russian and Chinese involvement. This is a very good sign for us if we are concerned about having our elections stolen from. I hadn't even thought about that. That's interesting that that came up. I was thinking about what was going to happen here in the United States with Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, but they're talking more about international or foreign involvement. Where we are at right now, heartbreak. So all of this fighting, all of this conflict has been really bad for the American people. It's been really bad for the American psyche. And we really have to think in terms of just being kinder to one another, even people who we may politically disagree with, who feel disenfranchised. It's just very important for us to heal the heart of the country at this time. And the crossing card is the Queen of Pentacles. That's my card for the FBI. It's also the business card. But I use that card as a significator for the FBI because she's hidden, she follows the finances, they follow the money quite a bit in the FBI, which again would lead me to suspect that whatever this foreign justice and money issue is, it was a heartbreak or it was a concern. The FBI is right over it. But it's something that they have to be on constantly. It's right over us. And then above us is a Lover's card, which again would indicate it's really important for us to just be kind. Be kind to everyone, even people we may not disagree with politically, because the bottom line is that we have to live and work with one another. It's not attacking each other and insulting each other and talking about how stupid President Trump is not necessarily going to help us win an election. What we're sitting in is the Sword of Truth. Again, this is a very good omen. I would say it's quite auspicious. It corresponds with the Archangel Michael. Each of the pages is associated with messengers. In Hebrew, the word messenger is melach. Melachim would be the plural. And so messengers and angels have the same root in Hebrew. But the angel that carries the sword of truth is traditionally Archangel Michael. So we see this as Michael's card. So reach across the aisle and be honest. Be an honest Abe. Tell the truth about what we're trying to do. Transparency is the best thing that we can do moving forward in this election. Not constantly talking about bills in the past that got, that didn't go through Congress because of Trump. That's not helping us. They want to know what we're going to do, what is our plan right now, and why haven't we done it. The past regarding this is the nation needed to heal. There's a lot of reasons why I think this card, which is associated with the Archangel Raphael. Raphael is the archangel associated with the King of Cups, sorry, with the Page of Cups, because Raphael brings healing to the world. And so for that reason, we associate Archangel Raphael with the Page of Cups, who brings the elixir and brings healing. It's kind of fun for me as a naturopathic doctor to see Raphael in this position, because I always think about omega-3s, the fish, which is good for brain health and heart health. And it's kind of funny that the fish is in the medicine that Raphael brings. You know, we came out of COVID. Americans are not doing well. We've had concerns with our insurance. This is something that I think really appeals to seniors if we're talking about affordable getting prescription drug costs down. We have to talk about, again, not just the past, but how can we make it better in the future? And then the future health of the nation, it has to do with investing. Are we willing to invest in the health of the nation? Because if our nation is not healthy, our enterprises, our business will not be healthy. It's interesting to see that juxtaposition there. Seven of Pentacles is a retirement card too. It has to do with reaping what you sow. It's also a card that I've associated in the past with the green economy, where you care for the environment and then she gives you back what you have put into it. What we get back, what we put into it, renewable sources, for example. And then where we are at right now, again, from the Democratic standpoint, we have to just go for it. We have to clear the air, be honest, sit in truth, have human conversations with people, go to rural areas, stop just talking to young people that get to go to college, but talk to people who are not able to get to college. People that are vulnerable to meth addiction, fentanyl, people who don't feel like they have a future. Can we give them a future? Fool card is something I've seen in the past for Democrats. It's a sense of faith and a willingness to really go out there. And again, see that Lover card in the fourth house. It's really stopping with the judgment, stopping making it out to demonize people that don't vote the way we do, but really healing and speaking truth and trying to hear what is going on with you. How did this happen to you? What's going on in West Virginia? What's going on in rural areas? How can we heal you? How can we help you? How can we support you? Because that's more important than anything else for the future welfare of the country. The opposition to us at this time is just chaos and confusion. More than Republican, more than Democrat, the underlining big issue for us is confusion. Seven of Cups is being in the cups. It can be delusion. It can be drug addiction. Somebody that's in their cups, alcoholism. It's an interesting card if you take a look at it. The person is looking at phantoms and ghosts and spirits and laurel wreaths of power and castles in the sky. And how can we do away with all the crazy and just be as clear as possible and not so much talk about the past, but have concrete plans for the future that are easy for people to understand? And then we have to do what we say we're going to do. The hope and the fear for us at this time is poverty. The main concern for Americans is fear of poverty. Fear of homelessness, fear of being cast out, fear of not having enough, terror about their future. We see real fear in this country, fear that I'm going to be living in my car, or I am living in my car. Destitute, cast out, and no future to look for. How can we ensure that Americans are going to have what they need in order not to face this kind of outcome. The final outcome for us at this time, 8 of Swords. Do not be wrapped up in red tape. Too much red tape, too much confusion, to making things more complicated than they need to be. Binding us in legal situations that we can't get out of. The clarification for us is a new contract, a new deal. Just as Biden brought in a new deal, we need a Harris New Deal. This is something that she can roll out in the next 40 days or 30 days, is this idea of a new deal. 3 of Pentacles is over the Fool card. So create a new deal now. Build something now and begin to talk to people about what this new deal is and how is it going to help rural voters, undecided voters, and voters in the Sun Belt. It needs to be grassroots in Arizona, in North Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Wisconsin, just this idea of clear, concise, new deal that the people can understand. The opposition to that is being chained to old ideas, codependency, drug addiction, living in a delusion. You can see over here the opposition is drug addiction and codependency. So again, we have a lot of people on prescription drugs in this country, which is affecting mental health, but we also have a lot of people on street drugs. And we also have a lot of delusion and illusions happening when it comes to perceptions of what's going on in the outside world, and that is going to have an impact on how people vote. Over the issues of poverty, the hope, and the fear, we must begin to make brave, bold moves going forward in order to deal with the issues of poverty in the United States. And the final outcome for us is the race. We can win the race if we follow what the cards are saying, if we are honest, if we are kind and respectful, and if we are proactive, and if we build a new deal and we go forward with that bold new deal in ways that are easy for people, even people who may not have traditionally voted a Democrat in the past, that they can understand. All right. Whew. Thank you so much for listening to this remote view and reading on how the Democrats can win going forward in 2024. If you'd like to have a personal reading with me, you can do so by booking me through Booksy. The information is below, and then I call you at the appointed time. I'm also available as a naturopathic doctor via Zoom, and that's what all these herbals are behind me. A medical intuitive and a naturopathic doctor. All right. Thank you again. Be kind to all so that all will be kind to you. God bless. Peace out. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.